Hello everyone and welcome to Museums Under the Spotlight. I'm Alina Dima, your host, and today we are going to take an unusual tour in a brightly colored space dedicated to the kitsch subculture. Yes, today's show is dedicated to kitsch in all its manifestation forms, and we have discovered the perfect place that depicts pretty accurately this anthropological current, the Kitsch Museum in Bucharest. This is a new type of museum, different from the ones we are traditionally accustomed to, but I am quite sure that it's going to be a very interesting experience to see Romanian kitsch items dating back from the communist era and also some contemporary objects that reflect the lifestyle of a certain category of people. So let's see what the story of this museum is.
The museum, showcasing mostly Romanian kitsch items, ranging from a life-size Dracula to communist-era glassfish, is opened to the public in the country's capital. The exhibits also include fake perfume bottles that imitate famous brands, a cushion that looks like €1 coin, neon-lit Christian crosses, the kidnapping from Serai, and other cheap objects that populated Romanian apartments in the communist era. The first thing you see upon entering the museum is a copy of Michelangelo's world-famous statue of David. But that's the only reference to the classical art in this space devoted to kitsch. The statue, a miniature copy of the 16th century sculpture, wears a gaudy gilt necklace with a large US dollar pendant, setting the tone for visitors to the Romanian Kitsch Museum. Of course, the entire museum is a pamphlet, and it should be treated as such.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're definitely doing something different today in regards to what we have already accustomed you with. And we are at the Kitsch Museum in Bucharest, in the old town of Bucharest, which is a very, very nice area to visit. And together with our host, Cristian Lică, the museum director and founder, we are going to discover a few very, very interesting things regarding the kitsch subculture. Hello, and thank you so much for having us here today. It's a very, very colorful space that you have here, and it does give you a special kind of vibe.
Yeah, kitsch is supposed to be colorful first, and it's supposed to be very obvious. I mean, you notice it if you like, let's say, art or beautiful things. You will definitely notice kitsch because you consider kitsch as a bad thing. This is not what we think here. We love kitsch and we think it's beautiful and it's very warm. I think when you go in an environment like this, you can feel it's warm here because all the things that make part of our memories are somehow coming back to us. And all we remember, I think, it's the good times we spend in an environment like this.
It's true that it gives you a certain nostalgia,
exactly.
Of course, for us Romanians, because somehow during the past 50 years we have been accustomed to seeing these objects that surround us.
Yeah, exactly. That's in the interior design. But kitsch in Romania is more than in other parts. I think it's more developed, more powerful, more successful than in our parts, and that's because, of course, Romania is trying to follow the Western culture, and sometimes Romanians are trying to do bigger steps than it's necessary, and sometimes you have some gaps, you know. And this is how kitsch starts, how kitsch appears.
Well, the museum is definitely very interesting.
Okay,
and
thank you.
Quite frankly, you wouldn't expect to find something like this in a big city. I mean,
Why
a
not?
museum dedicated to kitsch culture.
Okay.
So this is why my question for you is, how did you come up with the idea?
Okay, so obviously it's an irony. I mean, if you do a kitsch museum, that's an irony. I mean, you cannot you know, pretend that your works or your exhibits are, you know, very important or very,
or
they deserve to be, you
yeah.
know, presented in a Kitsch museum. So taking into consideration this irony, we are thinking that the museum experience should be a funny one. So to answer to your question, first I wanted to open a communist museum, a museum based on the communist theme. But we dropped it because we realized that what we want to offer to our visitors is a fun experience, not a dramatic one, not a very profound and very, let's say, sometimes toxic experience. I mean, we don't want to show awful things here. So that's why we changed the plan, because we wanted to make a museum, and we were brainstorming what kind of theme should we use, and we decided on kitsch because, of course, of my passion of for kitsch items. I'm collecting them like 20 years now. So my challenge was to do a place where the people can buy a ticket and visit it, and then to review it.
And give feedback online, because you do have a very interesting platform also. It works very nicely. I checked it out before doing the show, because you always need to document on the next topics you're going to talk about.
So I was saying that, of course, it's a low-budget museum, and it's not owned by any, let's say, governmental institution. It's a private business. And we had the freedom to do wherever we wanted. I mean, not wherever we wanted, but at least more than we could do if we were, you know, somehow depending on the city hall or the government or anything else. So we did not ask for anything from nobody, and the only revenues we have is the visitors' entrance tickets.
Let's talk about the division of the museum.
Okay.
How is it divided? It has a few themes that it represents, and what do the objects mean?
Okay, a short explanation is that we have 6 areas, actually 7, but 6, let's say, exhibits areas. One is Dracula, because we consider Dracula the worst kitsch we have here in Romania, the biggest and the worst kitsch we have in Romania, and I'll explain later if you will ask me. We also have the religion kitsch, because there are so many things in the religion, in the Orthodox, Christian Orthodox religion, that sometimes it's obvious that it's not spiritual but materialistic, so that's why it became a kitsch. We do have elements of communist kitsch, because communism as a big lie, it was a big lie, of course, and when you lie a lot, then you do a lot of kitsch things. We do have the interior design, which is here, and we try to have an old apartment, not that old, but from the late 20th century.
Yeah, we're actually in a communist-like apartment.
Yeah, but even after communism, I mean, I think you can see an environment like this even now. But of course, back in the 90s, it was, let's say, I think the majority of the apartments were looking like this.
Or probably nowadays, the elder people preserve this kind of display.
Then we have what we call gypsy kitsch, because we consider that a mixture of Romanian gypsy cultures, sometimes exploding like a kitsch gypsy house in the middle of, I don't know, Romanian small city. And the last area is what we consider modern kitsch, and of course we have all the things we see on the street or in the shops or the TV. There are so many. I mean, we are very happy that Romania is still producing a lot of kitsch. We are very, very happy with that. And upstairs, because we have 2 floors here, upstairs we are trying to have a kitsch art gallery, all the Romanian painters or artists who wants to associate with us, which is not a very easy thing for an artist.
Or a common thing.
Exactly, and if they are accepting to do artworks that we consider kitsch enough, let's say, we expose them. So upstairs we have this art gallery, and of course we are doing events, like private events.
Well, about Dracula, because you mentioned the fact that the myth or the legend behind Dracula became the biggest kitsch that Romania exported.
It's not
Or it's exported actually under Kumas
imported.
because it was imported. The story of Dracula dates back from the late 19th century.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to Bram Stoker and
Exactly.
his novel. Of course, Bram Stoker never traveled to Romania. Everything that happens in the novel is fruit of his imagination.
Exactly. I
And
totally
maybe
agree
his
with you.
documentations regarding the maps of the time and some descriptions that he got from the area. It's true that the Romanians do have a superstitious side
Exactly.
in their
that's
DNA.
a mystic,
A mystic
Byzantine
side
thing.
of life, yes. And afterwards, Hollywood made a real big boom out of the legend of the vampire, the blood-sucking immortal Count Dracula from Transylvania. So this is why many foreign tourists come every year to Transylvania to track down the famous vampire. But during the development of this story, of course, kitsch appeared, because there are a lot of souvenir items that look
Not only,
really,
but so many.
really weird.
Exactly.
What do you have in the museum?
Okay, so talking about Dracula, why we consider it the biggest Romanian kitsch is that first of all, we can say that nobody knew about Dracula in 1990. I mean, of course, there were some people who saw at least one movie or something, but Dracula came into Romania actually in 1990 because the foreigners brought it. I mean, they came here to see Dracula, and they were surprised that we don't have in our culture, in the Romanian culture, there are not so many vampires, let's say. I mean,
Actually, there are more werewolves than vampires.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so the thing was that Romanians heard about Dracula, and they thought it's a 100% ready brand to be exploited, you know. And they started to, I don't know, meet with Dracula, or I don't know, papers or hotels and spas, and everything is based on Dracula.
Dracula is one thing, but the other thing that is present in the Kitsch Museum is the religious kitsch.
Yeah.
Of course, religion is a rather delicate subject.
Yeah, it's sensitive, but
It's sensitive.
it's sensitive if you think.
But let's
okay.
move it into a different perspective.
Okay.
And let's leave the holy things where they are, because it's good that they are there. And let's move to another direction, a funnier one. And tell me, what do you have in the museum when it comes to religious kitsch?
First of all, we have that icon who cries. Falling tears of the icons are going down in a plate we have there. We wanted to have, you know, a crying icon here in our museum because there are 27 now in Romania. It used to be 26. Now we found the 27th, and of course it has a story pretty long. I don't want to share it right now, but it's on our website. So it's a very powerful icon. It's a magical icon because it cries.
It's a miracle worker,
It's
right?
a miracle, of course, and some of our visitors really believe that. which makes us very happy. The icon is crying when our country is facing difficult times. Other things we have here are 3D icons and lightning crosses and so many things you can buy from everywhere. We are not trying, to say that the religion is bad. It's nothing to do with that. But we are very happy to laugh when we see that sometimes religion is going in a different way than it should be. I mean, when it stops being spiritual and become materialistic, then it turns to kitsch.
Yeah, it's true. And it's a fine line. And most likely, people are going to cross it.
Okay.
So, there is room for kitsch. And
There
it's
is room
good
for
that it
kitsch. There is
exists.
still,
Because maybe it's going to be like a heads up for the people that come here to actually realize that the spiritual part of everything in life is a lot more important than the material side of things.
Exactly.
Well, one last topic that I want to talk about today is the display regarding the communist era.
Okay.
Communism has been one of the saddest periods in Romania's recent history. It had its ups and downs, its good and bads, but mostly the period didn't bring too much good. And it did bring a lot of kitsch. Of course, the newer generations consider it as such, but for the older ones, it brings back nostalgia. We are in an old communist apartment here, and I am sure that for many Romanian visitors, a few of the items present here do bring back some childhood memories.
Exactly.
Tell me a bit about the idea regarding the communist kitsch.
Kitsch is subjective as art is subjective. I mean, if we agree that art is subjective, we can't consider that kitsch is subjective, which means everybody will have an opinion about what is kitsch and what is not. Even you, even me, of course. My opinion is very obvious. But of course, I cannot be, 100% sure that everybody will understand the same thing. The main thing is that these exhibits are our opinion regarding the kitsch. And we know we don't have, the authority, to consider this is kitsch and this is not kitsch, but nobody has. I mean, there's no science like this is kitsch or this is not kitsch. So that's why our collection is based on the visitors' preferences. I mean, if they are happy and if they are laughing 5 or 6 times here because we count them, then we are very happy.
Communism brought poverty and lack of culture in the Romanian society in its ideological and propagandistic attempt to create equality among people, and with the state of things, Romanians had to quickly adapt to the new status quo of the country. In this context, the kitsch subculture also appeared, being mostly visible in the interior decorations of the Romanian apartments, where one could see plastic exotic fruit on inox plates or plastic flowers in cheap glass vases. People were buying surrogates because they couldn't afford to buy the real thing. The museum abounds with these examples and also other sub-themes related to communism, like the wooden language of the officials and political bodies.
What's the usual reaction that visitors have when they come here at the
Laughing,
museum?
of course. It's a funny museum.
So people definitely get the idea.
Yeah.
They know that everything
Most
here
of them,
is
of course.
ironic, and that you are trying to set a message, to tell people a story regarding the kitsch phenomenon.
Okay, yes, you're right. It's a story, but the story is very simple. We looked outside in our country. We looked at the TV, we looked in digital social media networks, we look on the streets, in the stores, and we selected some things and brought it here.
The Kitsch Museum is very modern and up-to-date with the new online trends, as well as the offline ones. You can find references on social media and the official website of the Kitsch Museum, and it's fun to read the feedback the visitors give. We will just quote a few. Beware, this is not your typical museum. It requires a great amount of sarcasm and knowledge of communist and modern Romanian lifestyle. The jokes are on point, the staff encourages you to go crazy and have fun. Small, adorable and very amusing. A great way to spend a free hour. So, whenever you have some spare time and you want to experience something out of the ordinary, the Kitsch Museum can easily answer to that wish.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I really hope that you have enjoyed our kitsch experience today, and I am quite sure that even a small dose of kitsch can help us appreciate even more the real art forms, the culture and the class that should be promoted and adopted in our lifestyle every day. Until next time, remember to make your life a beautiful story.